Welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. In this episode, we'll be listening to What's New at Bookshop.org, a session that was presented at Winter Institute 2026 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Well, it's 3 o'clock, so I guess I'll start. As you can tell from this room, we're much less controversial than we were 6 years ago. But hopefully we'll still have some interesting things to talk about today. This is also our 4th information session at Winter Institute this year, so hopefully the other ones were better attended. And if you're anything like me, you're sleep deprived and exhausted right now, so we'll see how loopy we get. Antitrust guidelines don't talk about pricing boycotts, dividing up the market, discounts, that kind of thing. After, I think I'm supposed to ask that after you rate the session, after the session is over. I'm just going to tell you what's new at bookshop.org. I'm going to start with kind of like how far we've come. And hopefully y'all won't think I'm taking credit for too much, but I'm very proud of how well the past 6 years have gone. And I like to think Bookshop had a small part to play in what has been a really extraordinary growth of local independent bookstores in the past 6 years. So to start off with, I'd want to note that we hit $45 million to local bookstores in the U.S. not so long ago. I think we're almost at 46 now. The ticker is going up a lot. We had the best year of our existence last year, even better than 2020 when all the bookstores had to close and thousands of bookstores were sending all their customers to us, which is really, really extraordinary, especially because if you look at the arc of bookshop.org, 2020, 2021 were both huge years because stores that weren't selling online at all were forced to close down because of the lockdown, and we became their only channel in many cases. We opened very rapidly in the US and the UK, grew very quickly, had really, really huge years. And then in 2022, customers went back to their local bookstores. And 70% of our customers had been direct bookstore referrals. And so all those people went back. And in fact, the good news was in-store shopping was up even at higher levels than they were in 2019. So by 2022, not only customers were returning to the stores, but they were shopping there more than ever, which was wonderful for everybody. But it meant bookshop.org was shrinking, and we were shrinking every year. So we made a big effort around 2023 to figure out how to get more popular readers, how to move towards the middle. We were very literary, like a lot of socially conscious nonfiction. We became more accessible. We started making improvements to our site. And we turned that around, and then we were growing we grew in 2024. In 2025, we had our biggest growth year ever. And so now we're doing better than we've ever done before, and indies are doing better too. So in 2019, these are rough estimates. Indies had less than 1% of Amazon's market share for online sales. In 2024, we're about 4%. Now, that's incredible. That's an incredible progress. And about half of that is bookshop.org. So the other half of that is indie commerce sales, book manager sales, and stores that are using things like Shopify, Square, or Stripe. But altogether, we've grown our share of the pie. And 75% of Bookshop's customers say they used to be Amazon customers. So we know where those customers have come from. We are successfully peeling off Amazon customers and moving them into the indie channel, which is massive. 70% of indie bookstores have their own e-commerce websites. 90% of them are on bookshop.org. That means for a significant number of stores, we're their only e-commerce solution. We want to get better and better for those stores. We grew 55% last year. And thanks to our platform, now indie bookstores are selling ebooks. And ebooks accounted for about 5% of our sales last year. Now, to compare that with Amazon, Amazon's been selling ebooks forever. And about 13% of Amazon sales are ebooks. So we're already at 5% We think we can make that number a lot bigger too. And there's a few things that ebooks do for independent bookstores that we're just beginning to see it. We're just on the cusp of understanding how big a deal they can be. But first of all, if you're limited to in-store inventory, and even at Bookshop, even though we've got the great people at Ingram and their incredible inventory, there are books that aren't in inventory. But you have the ebook edition, so people who are searching for it no longer will get 0 search results. And what happens when they get 0 search results? They go to Amazon, where they're going to get a search result. The other thing is that we polled our users before we built the ebook platform, and we found out that 40% of them had read an ebook in the past year. And I think that if you think about indie booksellers, they don't think that 40% of their customers are reading ebooks. And those customers had no way of buying an ebook from them before. So those customers were probably going behind their back to Amazon. Maybe, if they were lucky, they were going behind your back and going to Kobo. But they were not buying them from you, and now they can. And then the third thing, which I think is yet to be captured, but I do think that there's a real place for ebooks to satisfy customers who are coming in and being like, my book group is meeting tomorrow. I haven't even cracked this book. I need it now. Do you have it? We can order it for you and have it in 4 days. No, that's too late. I got to go. You can offer them to buy an ebook and get them into your ecosystem. And then you can try to convert them into a physical customer visiting your store, etc. So you can always satisfy their needs now. If they have an iPhone, they can read the ebook on their phone. And that's something that we're not seeing many stores do yet, but I'm hoping that like in the next 5 years, stores will start doing that as second nature because they understand that that's part of what's in their wheelhouse now. And this is like overall good news, of which Bookshop is just a small part. And most of this is due to the ingenuity and passion of local businesses, local booksellers. But for 15 years, every single year, more bookstores closed than opened. We lost half the bookstores in the U.S. ABA memberships dropped to a low of 1,887. Nobody thought that we were going to turn that around and that there would be thousands more bookstores opening up in the next 6 years. If, I was going to publishers, I was going to authors, I was going to investors, and I was trying to convince them that Bookshop was a good investment. And none of them thought that this would happen. They said, if you can't beat Amazon on speed and you can't beat Amazon on price, you don't have a chance. And Amazon was proving that every year as they grew market share and more bookstores closed. But since 2020, more bookstores have opened every single year. Last year, 422 new stores opened, only 42 closed. It's amazing. There's 3,200 ABA stores now. It's a 75% increase in 5 years, and even better, 73% of those stores grew year over year. Just in conversations at this Winter Institute, I'm talking to people like Paul from City Lights. He tells me that City Lights is having the 3 years in a row, the best years that they've ever had. How long have they been there? Well, I should know, 70 years? The best years that they've ever had. So that sea change is insane. And it's something that, like, in a world where it seems like almost all the news is bad or scary, this is some really good news. And we should be singing it from the rooftops. Like, I think this should be really studied. It should be talked about. It should be getting more media coverage. We can turn this story, this feel-good story, into something that can build more momentum and continue this trend. So some of Bookshop's contribution to that, well, online sales on your own websites have grown by about 200% in the past 5 years. That's based on data from Indie Commerce. I'm assuming that something similar has happened with book manager sites as well, or stores that are running their own websites. Globally, during that time period, e-commerce grew at 27%. So outpacing global e-commerce growth by something like 7 times. Last year, we grew 55%. Y'all grew 21% on your websites. That's amazing. And it speaks to a concern that existed when we launched. When we launched, there were so many stores that were worried that people would shop at bookshop.org instead of their websites. And rather than growing the size of the pie, we were just going to cannibalize their sales. And that's what economists call a zero-sum game. If somebody gets something, somebody else has to lose it for that to happen. In the book ecosystem, it might be a zero-sum game because the total number of readers or total number of book sales hasn't increased. But for us, we've got like a little bucket, and we're sitting next to somebody with a massive pile of money, which is Amazon. And so we have so much more room we can grow. It's not a zero-sum game because for every indie bookstore shopper, there were 100 Amazon shoppers. And a lot of them were people who grew up loving independent bookstores, who actually shared our same values, but nobody had done the outreach. It wasn't in the kind of cultural milieu to like know that you really have to support independent bookstores. People weren't as aware of Amazon's business practices. And they weren't as aware before the pandemic of the importance of rallying behind your local communities and your local businesses and supporting them because they make your quality of life so much better. And so the pandemic kind of woke people up. We were like in a boiling the frog situation where Amazon was growing every year, bookstores were going out of business every year, but it was never dire enough to scare people and wake them up. The pandemic woke them up. And since then we've been growing, and we grow alongside bookseller websites. We always tell people, check your local bookseller to find out how they want to be supported. If they want you to shop on bookshop.org, shop on bookshop.org. If they want you to buy from their websites, buy from their websites. That's paying off, and it's truly a rising tide that's lifting all boats. So it's been incredible to see. So overall, between bookshop.org, which is additive, and the growth of independent bookstores' websites, talking about 600% growth from 2019. And it's not slowing down, it's speeding up. So getting that number from 600% to 1,000% after a decade seems very possible to me. And one thing that I do think that bookshop.org can take some credit for is we've been telling people through the efforts of our incredible marketing team, some of whom are in attendance right now, and our PR and everything that we're doing on social media, everything we're doing on word of mouth. We're reaching millions of people with the same message over and over again, which is you need to support your local bookstores. Local bookstores are precious. They're important. They build community around books. They're important for literacy. They're important for keeping books a part of our cultural conversation, and the value of books in our society is too precious to give that up to a single mega retailer that doesn't share our values. And by making that our message over and over again, it becomes like common knowledge, and it becomes something that is generally accepted principle that more and more people feel. And you have more and more people who are like, yeah, I definitely want to buy that book from an indie. And if they do buy from Amazon, they're bashful about it. And there's social pressure now on social media to buy from local bookstores. When authors are posting about their books on places like Blue Sky, they're like, buy it from an indie if you can. All that stuff has been incredible to see. And building that kind of cultural awareness is so important. And I think if you look at other businesses that struggled during the pandemic, hardware stores, like other local businesses that also are important to their communities, they're not seeing the same lift because they're not having that same cultural conversation that's going around with indies, which is so important to this revitalization. So we want to keep that conversation going as much as we can. More good news is that we're sending more money to bookstores than ever before. Last year, bookstores earned about $9.1 million on bookshop.org. In 2024, they earned $5.5 million. That's a 64% increase. Now, Bookshop grew 55%. That means that bookseller earnings on bookshop.org are growing at a faster pace than our overall earnings, which is amazing. It's the highest in our history. Now, one of the things that's a challenge for us is that we keep onboarding new stores. We now have, by the time I wrote this deck and today, I think we're probably at 3,000. Justin would know exactly how many stores we have. Over 2,800. So we're growing and we're adding new stores, and a profit pool payment, which might be like $800 for a single location, that was the payment in 2023 when we had, 1,700 stores. So being able to support all these stores is actually, a challenge for us, because we don't want people's profit pool payments to be $400. We want to make sure that as we grow our booksellers, we're growing earnings as well. And so far it's working out great. And just a little bit of context, in 2019, before I launched, when I talked about bookshop.org to Winter Institute back then, I was like, if this works, we can send $6 million a year to local bookstores. 6 years later, we're sending $9 million to local bookstores, more than $9 million. So it's really pretty amazing. So hopefully, if you're looking for practical tips, you came to some of our practical tip sessions, because this is our fourth session and it's more broad-based, but I wanted to give some practical tips. If you're not on bookshop.org, and if for some reason you don't even want to use bookshop.org, you can still join bookshop.org, and you can put yourself on our map. Our map gets over 1,000 people a day looking for local bookstores. So you can put yourself on our map. If you're an ABA member, get on the map. You can even if you create a bookshop.org page, in the bio you can say, please don't shop here, please shop at our own website. We don't care, but get on the map and get in the profit pool. Because if you're in the profit pool, we will just send you money every 6 months. Whether or not you're active on or ever mention us to anybody, we'll still send you that money. So there's no downside to joining and getting on the profit pool and getting on the map. If you do join, we suggest that you create book lists, fill out your profile, put a nice picture in there, write something nice, include your social media links if you got them. It doesn't take long. It takes 20, 30 minutes if you're slow. And once it's there, it's going to give you so much more visibility. There are still stores that have like placeholder pages that don't have a picture or any text at all. Those stores aren't going to make as much money as the stores with a little bit of something to give people confidence. So do that and create maybe one book list, even if it's just 10 books, even if it's just your top 10 of all time. Just a single book list to fill out your page, make it feel like you really are present there. And then if you are active on Bookshop, if you really want to make more money on Bookshop, then you want to use our links. And Justin is over there, is always available to give tutorials on this kind of thing. But every time you share a link on Facebook or share a link on an email, and somebody comes to that link, whether it's a link to your store page, whether it's a link to one of your list pages, or whether it's linked to an individual book that using our affiliate links, that customer will be associated with your store. All that customer's purchases will go to your store. If that customer comes back in 3 months and buys another book, that book will be associated with your store. So by sharing your own links, customers become affiliated with your store, and then if they come back, they're still affiliated, and you will still get credit for their sales. And if you really want to make more money, if you don't really have an e-commerce website especially, use our widgets. And one widget I want to call out is our search box, which you can see on this slide up at the top right. That's the most effective widget we have. If a bookseller only has like a Squarespace page or a Wix page and doesn't have the time or energy or expertise to do e-commerce, the difference of putting that on your page so that somebody who's looking for a particular book and finds your website can make a purchase that benefits your store makes so much of a difference. So if they put the widget of the search box on your page and they click search, it will bring them to a results page on Bookshop. They'll be affiliated with your store. All their purchases will go to you. And if you want to send them an email afterwards, you have access to their contact information through our dashboard. Only bookstores have access to customer data on bookshop.org. We don't share it with any other affiliates or any third parties whatsoever, but we consider those customers your customers. So you can always download all of their transactions. You can add their emails to MailChimp. You can build a relationship with those customers that have discovered you through Bookshop. So I felt like, just in case you had missed a session or there was a new person here, maybe everybody here already knows this, but I thought I should cover the basics. I talked a little bit about ebooks. I want to talk a little bit more about them. They're now 5% of our sales. We're integrated with Indie Commerce and Book Manager. So if your site is on Indie Commerce or Book Manager and you want to offer ebooks, all you got to do is tell them to turn them on. It's a checkbox. It's so simple. And then when they go to buy a book, they'll see the formats of hardcover, paperback, ebook, or audiobook. Audiobook can bring them to Libro.fm. Ebook can bring them to Bookshop. You will get credit for that sale. You'll earn the full profit margin. Ebooks, generally 70% goes to the publisher, 30% goes to the retailer. We don't take a cut. So we don't make $1 or a dime or a penny off of any ebooks that you sell. If you sold the ebook from your website, you get the entire amount. You also can get the customer email in the same way. So we're not trying to disintermediate you in any way. You can contact that customer. You can build your relationship with that customer, even with an ebook sale. Even though somebody will be leaving Indie Commerce to go to our website, you can close the loop with that customer, and that customer is your customer. Not everybody who has that ability has turned on that. So I do want to emphasize, if you have an Indie Commerce or Book Manager site, turn it on. Start selling ebooks. You can do it tomorrow. It takes no time. We're now onboarding tons of indie authors as well. And this is something that is new at bookshop.org. We just launched a partnership with Drafted Digital. We're already working with indie authors through Ingram. We now have a really large community of self-published and indie authors. And some of them are really excited because they don't love Amazon either. And now they have an opportunity to build a relationship with local bookstores. And if you're a local bookseller, you might be like, oh, indie authors are kind of a headache because they come in and they want shelf space. They want to be on the front tables. They don't understand that we have limited shelf space. We can't feature every indie author in our community. Well, when it comes to ebooks, this doesn't take up any shelf space. You can easily work with as many indie authors as you want that are in your community. You can put up a page on your website of local authors and have it filled with ebooks. And they can point their readers to your store and start telling their readers to support you instead of Amazon. And indie authors are a big and growing part of the publishing world. And this can really build something. And there's a natural affinity between indie bookstores and indie publishing and indie authors. And we should build on that and build a bridge between these communities because they've been siloed off on Amazon land for this entire time. All their livelihoods are based on Amazon revenue. They haven't had a way out. Now there's a little crack, and we can build a bridge between them. We can, as far as Bookshop goes, our job is to create a better and better platform for them so that they can really make money and have a sustainable career as an indie author while working with local bookstores and moving out of the Amazon ecosystem. So that's what we'll be working on, enhancing all of our functionality to support them more. But what you can work on is, just letting them know that this is a possibility, building bridges and getting indie bookstores to sell more indie author ebooks. It's something like 600,000 titles that we're adding in the next couple of months of indie authors. We have right now, if you want to read an ebook on Bookshop, we have an app. It's getting better every week. It's in really great shape now. I think it's already competitive with Amazon or Nook or Apple Books. And it's going to be even better 6 months from now, even better a year from now. We want it to be a best-in-class experience, so we want it to be better than the Kindle. Now, it's tough with a team of a handful of engineers and user experience people to beat Amazon there, but I think we can. For the same reason that we're beating Amazon now, because we're human beings and we're book lovers, and we understand other book lovers. And same with you all. So together, I really think that we can take some of that massive, I think, $2 billion ebook market, $2 billion of ebooks Amazon's selling every year. What if we get 1% of that? We have 4% of their book sales now. If we get 1%, that's $20 million more in the indie bookstore ecosystem. If we get to 4% matching our physical books sales, it's $80 million more from Amazon into our ecosystem. And I think 4% is conservative. I think we can get to 10%. So we're really happy with how it's going so far. We exceeded our original last year's revenue goals for ebooks, but it's very small compared to how big we think it can be. So the ebook apps are growing at 42% year over year. That's for the months of January and February this year, compared to the first 2 months of its existence in 2025. And that's pretty incredible considering how much media attention we got for ebooks at the time. And I want to give a shout out to Amy, our ebook guru, who was here earlier. I don't think that she's here now, but I can't see everybody because the lighting is bad. But anyway, she's done an amazing job of building a community and making sure that we're selecting the right ebooks and doing the right marketing to grow this. And then we're seeing a lot of indie authors on social media as well, pushing people to local bookstores already celebrating that their ebooks are available on bookshop.org. So that's pretty amazing. In perhaps more boring news, we have two-factor authentication. We realized that there was a lot of bookseller accounts that had $20,000 in them, and we were allowing people to cash out without two-factor authentication. So we rolled that out so that we have a more secure environment. We didn't have any security issues, but proactively we felt like that was important, and we rolled that out for booksellers last year. We're about to roll out a new checkout, which we expect to increase conversions by 10%. We're foregrounding Apple Pay and Google Pay. We're making it easier to check out. It's more streamlined. It looks better. It's going to create more confidence in customers. It's less confusing. It allows you to check out with the most minimal number of clicks. And it works great on phones. So, there's nothing wrong with our old checkout, but our new checkout is going to be better. And we expect it to immediately increase our revenue by 10%. And another thing that we're working on is beta to help booksellers who don't have time to send out email newsletters. We want to have a kind of set it and forget it weekly email newsletter that can go to your bookshop.org customers. And we're working on a beta right now. We've got 172 stores that are interested in it already. So if you're a store that's like, I know I really got to get around to email, I never have the time, just say yes to our beta, and we'll start sending your customers, just your Bookshop customers. You don't have to upload another customer list, just the people who bought from your store on Bookshop before. Whoops, should have silenced that before the conference. And we'll start sending them a weekly email with like the hot books on bookshop.org, books that are in the news, and just see what happens. We think it'll just increase your sales, and it'll remind your customers, and it'll also reaffiliate them with your store if they've gone dormant. So maybe a customer bought from your store 3 years ago and hasn't come back since. Well, we'll send them a little email reminder. We'll tell them about the new Heated Rivalry book or whatever it is, and hopefully they'll click on that, become affiliated with your store, and you'll have a chance to re-engage them. Because that's something truly important, is to re-engage customers who might have supported your stores during the pandemic, but have fallen off or forgotten that they could support you through bookshop.org. And this is a way for us to remind them and build consistent recurring revenue. So that's the email marketing program, and you can email Justin if you want to get on the wait list for that. As far as what our future is, there's a lot of other things that we're working on, some of which we are not quite ready to talk about. But I'd say broadly, in the next few years, we want bookshop.org to be the best online shopping experience for people who love books. We want people who love books, who come to Bookshop, to be like, oh yeah, this place is for me. These are my people. When I go here, I see everyone from my favorite publisher to my favorite bookstore to my favorite literary magazine to NPR or The Atlantic or wherever I like to consume my media, my favorite podcast, my favorite Bookstagrammer, they're all on here. If you go to the front page, you see a reflection of the entire world of people who care about books and institutions that care about books. from publishers to literary organizations to nonprofits to, chefs that might have a new cookbook out that have created a list of their favorite cookbooks. It's all on there. So it feels like a human place, not an algorithmic place. And it feels like a buzzing hive of all of the people and entities that make our world such a rich world, such a great place to be. And so we want people to find community and find their people on the site. And we want people who are shopping for books there to get everything that they need. So, right now Bookshop is a little behind Amazon when it comes to things like if somebody made a video for their book, or if they've got a book preview, or if they've got certain recipes for a cookbook and they've got the recipe pages on Amazon and you can click on, and, it's called enhanced content. We want that on our site. We want people to be able to have discussions about books on our site. We want to be able to put reading goals on our site. So if they want to read 12 books this year, 1 book a month, they should be able to put that in their account page. And when they buy a book, they should be able to click on it and fill it in and feel like, I hit my reading goal. And they should feel good about it. And what else they should feel good about? They should be able to see how much money they've raised for bookstores the entire time they've been shopping there. And so that when they get to like $100, they're celebrated. All these things like that. Each individual thing is going to be a small improvement. But incrementally, over the next 3 years, we're going to build upon these small improvements until we have a site that is so much better than Amazon, if you love books, that you would never even consider going there. And if you do go there, you're going to be like, oh my God, this sucks. That's the goal. We're also looking at e-commerce integrations with social sites. Like, we're looking at what would it mean if we got on TikTok Shop and allowed bookshops to be affiliates of ours on TikTok Shop and start selling books directly there. Social e-commerce is growing fast. It's projected to be $150 billion at the end of this year, I think, worldwide. It's the fastest growing segment of e-commerce, and I don't want bookstores to be left behind. So we're looking really seriously at what would it mean to allow bookstores to sell on platforms like TikTok, on YouTube, more efficiently and effectively. So we're looking at that. When agentic commerce integrations are things like ChatGPT is going to start recommending books to people. And we know that ChatGPT is going to start to try selling books. Whether or not you love AI, and I can tell you that personally I don't, and I have serious concerns, but I also know that they've already taken 10% of Google's market share for searches, and they're growing really fast. And so more and more people are going to be getting information they used to get from Google, from AI sources, and we want them to be sent to local bookstores. We do not want those people to all be sent to Amazon, Walmart, and Target to buy their books. So we want to be there and be on top of it anytime that they offer an integration, anytime that there's a way to do optimization for our content or our sites that will allow SEO to send more traffic to local bookstores. We want to be on it. We don't want to be trying to play catch up to big companies like Amazon 2 years from now after it becomes inevitable, right? We want to be there early. So we're going to be looking very carefully at that. We don't have anything to announce yet because it's too early. I mean, they're not even really doing it. We get about 2,000 customers a month, I think, from ChatGPT right now, which isn't a ton, but it's a year ago it was 0. So it's going to grow, and we want to make sure that we grow with it and that we're very careful about how we work with it. We're also very close to making a decision about an e-ink device, which would be like a Kindle killer. And we think that there's a lot, based on just our growth and your growth, there are a lot of people that don't want to be on Amazon anymore. And they all have Kindles. Or they don't all have Kindles, but a lot of them do. Kindles are more than 80% of the ebook market. People are reading on Kindles. So giving these people an opportunity to throw their Kindle away and buy something that supports local bookstores with every ebook purchase, I think could really, really be dynamite. So we have a spec. We have got manufacturing partners lined up. We're going to probably do a Kickstarter campaign to test the waters and to get pre-orders. And, you know, there's still a chance that we'll be like, this is too expensive. I want to be perfectly honest. It's expensive to do hardware, and it's a new risk. We're very careful with our resources because we have to stay very lean because we send all of our money to local bookstores. And so we don't have a lot of money. So if we were to do an e-ink device, it would be a massive investment and it would be a risk to our business. So we want to be very careful to make sure that that's the right risk to take. But it does look, to me at least, that this is a very promising area. Stores could sell it. There would be a decent profit margin if they sold in stores. People who bought it from you would be able to choose your store in the onboarding flow, and then all their purchases would go to you wherever they are, however they're using their device for years to come, and they would be breaking out of Amazon. I think it's a great way to kind of fuel that initial ebook growth that we've had and cement it, because people who own e-ink devices buy 10 times as many ebooks as people who read on their phones or computers. So having one that supports local bookstores could really be a game changer. And also for us to succeed, we don't need to sell 1 million. Like Kindles, they're selling over 1 million Kindles a year. We don't need to sell 1 million to succeed. You know, if we sell 500,000, or rather, if we sell 50,000, we'll be doing great. We're going to be working on also making our bookseller tools better. Our team now is more robust. We've got more resources. Our growth has allowed us to hire more engineers, hire user experience people who are extremely talented and may or may not be in this audience. And we're going to be able to make long-awaited improvements to the bookshop experience for stores, especially for the stores that are only using us for e-commerce and don't have another platform. We want to be competitive. We want them to feel like they're not making a sacrifice. We want them to have great reporting, to know where their customers are coming from, and be able to grow their sales using our platform, and couple that with a great experience for their customers as well. In the end, over the next three to 4 years, we just wanted to make it more sustainable to open and run an independent bookstore. We want to go from saying like, look, there were only 1,900 members of the ABA in 2019. Now there's 3,200. We want there to be 4,000. We want there to be 5,000. We want to regain all the ground that was lost between the year 2000 and the year 2019 from the birth of Amazon. And, why is that so important? I know that everybody in this room believes this, but I could truly believe that books are the number one driver for the evolution of human consciousness, morality, social progress, that they make us better as individuals, and they made us better culturally and as a society, and that free and open access to books and a diverse landscape of books that are available to people, and the activism that bookstores provide in getting people in their communities to read at a time where literacy is on the wane and fewer young people are reading, like, we need this. It's incredibly important. And instead of having one online retailer that's making all of its money elsewhere, entrusted to 80% of this culture, we need to have 5,000 weirdos running 5,000 weird bookstores, some romantasy, some horror, some super high literary. And we need them all to have their own perspective, and we need all them to be reaching their people. And it's going to be so much healthier for readers, for publishers, for authors. And that's the future that we want to facilitate. We want to facilitate that by bringing in more money. We don't want to bring in $9 million a year. We want to bring in $30 million a year so that bookstores can pay their higher wages, can pay health insurance. We want to be able to make it easier to run a bookstore so that there are less hurdles. So you can open a store if you have an iPad and an hour, you can set up the basics of like being able to sell online. Working with POS companies or doing our own POS integrations to allow people to tie their online sales to their in-store sales or their own website sales, all these things that can make it easier. So that's what our long-term goal is over the next 5 years, to kind of take all the great numbers that we've seen in the beginning of this deck and to capitalize on them, to make sure that they don't lose momentum, and that 5 years from now, this looks like, oh yeah, that was just the beginning. Can you believe that seemed great then, but we've come so much more just in the way that right now we're at this conference and we're like, things are so much brighter than they were in 2019. So that's the goal. So a few points for Justin, but I am going to call on him again and put his email address in here. Luckily, Justin, there's a very low turnout in this session, so you don't have to worry about getting a ton of emails. Sell ebooks. Contact Steph if you want to join our email marketing beta. Stay in touch with us. We do bookseller education sessions. We're always sending out newsletters about our news. Anytime you have a question, you can reach out to us. We're very transparent. We're very open, easy to get a hold of. As just an anecdote, I was looking at Barnes & Noble and I was thinking about how they've got 730 stores. They're making $350 million in online revenue. We've got 3,200 bookstores and we're making $130 million in online sales. That's not just Bookshop. That means Bookshop, Indie Commerce, Book Manager, etc. Like, we're doing 1/3 the revenue with 4 times the stores. We can do so much better. We could grow it by 5 times just to catch up to Barnes & Noble. And I think it's really, really possible. And I just noticed that I have a typo on my last word. So we can make it in the next 5 years by working together. So yeah, that's what's new at bookshop.org. And I want to have time for questions. So we've got about 20 minutes for a Q&A.
Is it working? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pass it to whoever's next. Callie from Rediscovered Books, Boise, Idaho. I have a question about being able to connect to Edelweiss for digital reading copies for the bookshop.org app. Is that in the works, or is that a possibility at all?
Yeah, well, so you want the digital ARCs from Edelweiss on the app?
Yes. So right now I download them to my Kindle.
Yeah.
And it's available in a third-party app, but it's not user-friendly. Most of my staff has not been able to figure out how to do it, and most of my staff downloads it to Kindle. So since you have the Bookshop app already, is there a way to talk to Edelweiss and have that option to just go to the bookshop.org app?
I mean, maybe not yet, but I would go to Edelweiss and tell them you want this and your staff wants it and that they should email me and we can start talking about it. Also, I'll say, I think Ingram is very interested with Covered in doing, integrating there as well. So, so we want, it's crazy. It's crazy to tell an independent bookseller to use a Kindle to read their digital ARC, right? So yeah, I think that's a great opportunity, and I would love to work with Edelweiss on that.
The follow-up is, are you going to be working with Kevin on that? Are you having that conversation?
Yeah, we are having that conversation, and we're very excited to work with Covered on anything that we can do to make that happen.
Hi. I am a single operated indie store owner. And can you talk more about your plans for increasing e-commerce integrations? I'm one of those people that doesn't use indie commerce or Book Manager for multiple reasons. I have the search bar, I have the curated book list widgets on my site, but as much explaining and disclaimers that, hey, this is not our store inventory. This will get shipped directly to your house. People still come in all the time and are like, where's that book that you had on Bookshop? I'd love to know more if you envision it being more seamless, or will it always link out to Bookshop? I guess what is Bookshop's appetite around that challenge?
Well, I can tell you my dream scenario, but I want you to know it could be 3 years away. And I'm not sure what will happen first, what will be the first step and not. But I think that Bookshop should have a sense of what's in your inventory. If a customer is local and they want to pick up in store and they want to save on shipping, they should be able to get the book from you. Ideally, I would love a system where we have a queue, and I feel sorry for my staff who are what is Andy promising here? But I've always felt that you should wake up in the morning and see your Bookshop orders that came in. And then you should decide like, oh, I have that book. I can fulfill that myself. Maybe it's slow. Maybe I want to fulfill it from my own inventory. If I wait 24 hours, that will go automatically to Bookshop. It'll probably be fulfilled by Ingram, but I have the opportunity to do that. Similarly, if a customer is in my area and I have that book in stock, we should be able to tell that customer, hey, if you want to get it in-store pickup, you can, because it is local. We think that most people will still do home delivery, but people should have that option. And I know it's incredibly important for booksellers to get in-store traffic, right? So if somebody's buying the new Michelle Obama book and you have 20 copies of it and they're 3 blocks away, it just doesn't make sense to not to show them that option. So that's what we mean when I say like integrating more closely with POS. Also, it kills me that I hear from people who have stores that are like, we don't have any idea who our indie commerce customers are versus our in-store customers versus our bookshop.org customers, right? So we know that they all exist, but they don't talk to each other. They're all different records, maybe the same customers buying from us in these different places, but we don't have the time or resources or understanding of how to put that all together. We want to be able to get that reporting together. We want to be able to show you on a dashboard that you got 20% of your customers last week were coming from social media, 30% of them came from direct email, 20 of them came from Google searches, so you know it's working. We want to be able to do things like, give you just more utility around customizing your content. We're talking about maybe allowing bookstores to more easily set up subscription book clubs and manage book clubs and memberships. So these are all ideas that we have. Ultimately, we want to make it easier to run your store. We want to make you more sustainable, and we want to make it so you have less disparate systems that don't talk to each other, that are cumbersome to manage.
Mm-hmm.
This is an idea, not a question, but I had this thought yesterday that it might be useful for indies on whatever their e-commerce platform is, to be able to have, like, if you liked this, you'd also like this. Maybe you already have a widget like that, because I'm not a bookseller, so I don't use your widgets, but I think that would be really excellent, because you were talking about wanting to make the best experience possible, and the Amazon experience already sucks because, like, they're not a bookseller. But I used to be an editor, and like the main thing I used Amazon for was comps. And that whole whatever they're doing with the people also bought, people also looked at is like a disaster now.
Yeah.
There's no like cohesion or rhyme or reason to it whatsoever.
There's a rhyme or reason. It's whoever's paying Amazon the most money.
Yeah, no, exactly. But even the ones that seem organic, they don't seem sponsored, don't make sense to me anymore. And I was thinking, I know you don't want, like, where our company is really like into not being algorithmic, like we're all about like human curation.
Yeah.
But I feel like there would be a way to maybe like use Edelweiss comps or something. So like you can say like a human curated this, but it's not something that like you have to do manually.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And there's a lot of reasons to do that. First of all, it's a good customer experience and you might discover new books. And one of the things that sucks about buying books online versus in store is like that sense of serendipitous discovery, right? And you want to be able to surface new authors. You don't want, I think it was a Madeleine McIntosh interview about Amazon from like 5 years ago in the New York Times where she's like, bestsellers are bestsellers because they're bestsellers. And that's because like, oh, something Where the Crawdads Sing is selling well, so we're going to recommend that to everybody. And then everyone buys it and then we recommend it to everybody. And then it takes 3 years for it to go away, which is fine. But how many books could have been recommended during that time period? And so we've got this incredible resource of human booksellers who are incredibly passionate about books. And you're right, whether it's through Edelweiss data or through some other means, we should be able to allow booksellers to tag books that are recommendations. And maybe you'll even see that like this person from Square Books said that this book goes well with this. Or if you like this, you like that. Maybe even tag like who it was. Or just say booksellers recommend. But make it clear these are human recommendations. Because even though everyone wants to do these book discovery algorithms, no, they never take off. I've been in this business for like 15 years, and I've seen so many book discovery things come and go. And some of them are really good, but ultimately, the number one reason that people buy books is because someone that they trust and respect told them a book was great. whether it was their friend or their bookseller or their mom or Oprah Winfrey or Dua Lipa. It's somebody that they care about has told them they should read this book. That's the number one reason people buy books. And so we can leverage that, make it, and then, from an e-commerce perspective, it's increasing their cart value. It's increasing the money that the bookstore makes. If they're going to buy one paperback for $16 and you can upsell them on another book, that everybody benefits. And if it's a good book, they benefit too.
Yeah, I was just thinking I am your customer, and the way I shop is if I'm going to order something already, I'm going to order everything that I would ever possibly order in that order. So I feel like it's a really good upsell opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I explore the whole integration POS thing a little bit more with you? I mean,
Sure.
I'm trying to think of all of I want to draw the roadmap right now, which I can't do with my hand in the air, so it's not going to work. But right now, of course, we have an indie commerce site. We have a POS partner, Basil, as a matter of fact. And then we also we try to drive our customers over to bookshop.org anytime they want a book shipped so that we don't have to deal with that component of it. But about 80% of our online sales are pickup and store sales. So very interested in that concept you have of being able to integrate our inventory into bookshop.org and making our lives much simpler and having people come in to pick up their books as they always have. But there's also this component. We download our bookshop.org customer list quarterly. Then we migrate it over to, our email system. It's this constant moving of data. And I think I'm hearing you're doing kind of a one ring to rule them all imagery of we can make this all happen together, right?
Yeah. That's
What's
what
that
I'm
really
hoping.
look like? I'm going to get a better sense of your vision. I know.
I don't
Plug
want
your ears,
The problem is
Justin.
I don't want to get myself in trouble or spread misinformation, but I do, I think it's an important problem to solve, that customer data is siloed, and even for your own customers. It's not about sharing customer data with third parties. I'm just talking about within a single bookstore, customer data is siloed and it isn't reportable. That's a big problem, and we should solve it. Exactly how we solve it, I wish I could tell you now. You're going to have to come to the session that we have 6 months from now, rather. But I do think I can tell you that doing more with POS integrations and more for bookstores is going to be a priority, more so next year than this year. But in the next 3 years, it's going to become a much bigger part of what we're building and what we're trying to do.
Hey, Andy, people should really appreciate how much work and effort and time and energy and intellect you put into supporting independent bookstores. It's probably unparalleled.
Thank you.
Now, a couple of people mentioned POS systems. So as you probably know, I've built a website. And in the ideal world, someone would click the buy button. It would go into a bookshop cart. The little shopping cart at the top of the menu would increment, and they could shop out, and Bookshop would handle the order. And now if it's not in Bookshop's database and it's a book that I have, it just, I will fulfill that order. However I do it now, my inventory is. I know you're doing integration with social media and all this. Is there any plans on doing that type of integration with websites generically?
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. When we talk about POS integration, that's what we're talking about. So we want to be, know what inventory you have on hand. Also, ideally, I would like stores to be able to sell sidelines that, even though maybe Ingram doesn't carry all those sidelines, right? Or you might have books that Ingram doesn't carry that is, I know that you have books that Ingram doesn't carry that are really important to your constituency. And so we should have availability through some way to surface your inventory. There are issues with that, if they pay for shipping, they paid for one shipping, we're going to split their shipment, you're responsible for a half of it, and then half of it's coming from someone else, all of that. There are hiccups down the way, which makes it not simple. And there's also several POS platforms that we would have to work with to be able to get a sense of what booksellers' inventory is. So it's not going to be easy to do, but I think it is really, really important for the evolution of the platform and to make Bookshop from what I would say, we want to go from being a nice to have that is benefiting the industry to a must have that booksellers feel is allowing them to do their jobs better and allowing their businesses to succeed more than they ever have. And so that's what we'll be going for. And that'll definitely include what you're talking about. I'm saying within 3 years, and I'm saying that next year is going to be the year where it's like really starts to be our focus, because this year we're still doing the digital books rollout and we're doing a bunch of infrastructure improvements, and we're increasing our customer experience as well. But that's like next year will be the year of booksellers, I think.
My other question was about the social media e-commerce integration as well. You mentioned YouTube and TikTok. Is Instagram or Facebook on the list as well? Because we talked to a group from like a youth coalition, and the teenagers were like, we only use Instagram. And and our main focus is on Instagram because that's where our customers are. And also there's been data that people don't like to go to the link to bio anymore. They just want to have a direct link.
Yeah. The short answer is yes. Instagram would be on our short list as well as Pinterest. And whether we prioritize one platform over the next one, it'll be a combination of factors by like how big the opportunity is, how many bookstores want us to like launch with TikTok or Instagram first. We're also watching how the acquisition of TikTok by like this new ownership group plays out, because that's a chance that we just don't want to invest a lot of time and energy into that platform now. Wherever the opportunity seems the greatest will be the place that we prioritize. The one thing I like about TikTok, not to get too in the weeds, is that they have an affiliate system built in. So it's really easy to say we're a bookshop affiliate and we're going to sell 1,000 books through our TikTok, and Bookshop fulfills them, and it's invisible to our followers. They just think they bought the book. Bookshop fulfills it. We get 30% of the cover price, and it all happens like by magic, and I don't need to create my own TikTok shop and go through all that rigmarole. So that's what I love about TikTok and why it seems like a great opportunity. But I agree with you that there's like a lot of reasons. Instagram and, its sister site is Threads, and Threads is becoming a great platform for people who love books. And there's so much book activity on Threads, so that'll be a big consideration as well when we consider, like, do we want to prioritize Instagram or TikTok?
Thank you. Oh, we're just passing that mic back and forth. One more thought on your Kickstarter campaign. Think about whether all of the bookstores that use your services would consider also kickstarting in a different way. So not just individual, but are bookstores interested in contributing to this pre-ordering in a way that would give you a sense of numbers, right?
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Okay, we got 2 minutes.
This is more like a comment. If you did do something like the Kickstarter campaign for that, I think a lot of independent bookstores might be willing to invest back the money that they've gotten from bookshop.org to help that move along. At least I would be interested as a bookstore owner to put money into that.
Oh, that's great.
Especially if we could sell them in stores as well.
Oh yeah, you would definitely be able to sell them in stores. And we want the profit margin to be like at least $50 if you do. And so, yeah, hopefully it would work for everybody. All right. Thank you all so much for coming, and hope you had a great conference. Sorry I have to be vague about stuff that's more than a year out, but we're working on it.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA site at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!